Hi, welcome to Channel Squared, where we connect with you, the divine, and channel here with you live. I'm Heather Marie, founder of Soulgate.
And I'm Jody Lynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness. And today we are talking about programmed, how society has been programmed. We have been programmed. So is it the programming that is leading you in the direction of your life, or is it your heart's desires? And how the heck do we tell the difference? Woo!
There's so much to unpack with this topic.
Yeah.
Okay. There is the whole red pill movement, right? And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I think that it'll be really interesting to see kind of how this conversation evolves and how we unpack this topic, because there's a lot of various ways that we can go here. Now, we love conspiracy theory that has now not really become all that much conspiracy-ish.
Or theory. It's becoming facts.
Exactly. So, all right. How has society been programmed?
Okay, where do we want to start? Like, do we want to start with money? Do we want to start with food? Do we want to start with education? Do we want to start with what you actually want, like the house that you have, the car that you drive? Because all of this is being programmed. The way that you eat, when you eat, how you eat, what you do in your spare time, what you don't do, what you think you have time for, all of it is a giant program running. And I'm not saying that it's bad, but mostly we're unconscious of it. For me, I lived a life that was completely programmed. I was going towards shooting for the moon, hoping to hit the barns on everybody else's dreams that they thought I should have.
Right.
And I did a lot of that for a long time in my life, like the car I wanted to drive, programmed. The house that I wanted to build, I wanted this massive, like 17,000 square foot house, maybe not that big, but 5,000 square foot house, in the middle of the city, programmed. That was a program for me. And I'm not saying that you can't want those things, that they're all programmed. The point of this conversation is to ask yourself what your heart is actually desiring. Because for me now, let's stick with house. I used to think I wanted to live in the city. I grew up on a farm. I moved away from said farm because there was no opportunity out here. Program. I didn't want to live in the middle of nowhere. Program. I'm just pointing out my programs. Just being very transparent. So I went to the big old city and was living the, in the fast lane, as my dad would call it. And I thought that one of the programs that was running is that to have a business, to be successful in life, I had to live in a big city. And I had to look like I was successful. I had to have the big home, and I had to have the Mercedes, and I had to have, the nice shoes and the nice clothes and whatever. And now it's funny because I drove through the city. I took my parents on a couple of appointments a couple of weeks ago, and not knocking the city. If that's where you want to live, amazing. I can't do it. I look at the houses and I would have to walk like this through them. They're literally like 2 feet apart. Like, I don't understand. Why do you have a window that looks at your neighbor's house? I don't get it. Why is this backyard so small? But for me, I am filled up by being in nature. Having wide open spaces and expanses with nature is freedom to me. I can pack my car full of groceries once a week or once a month and never have skipped the dishes ever again. That doesn't bother me. I would rather have what I have. But it took a lot of soul searching to get there.
Yeah. And, it's funny because I came from similar programming. So, once upon a time, I was running like 3 businesses simultaneously, all hugely successful in their own right. each one was independently a successful business.
Yeah.
And I somehow was managing it all, right? I had that jet set lifestyle, right? I was always on a plane, going somewhere, coming back, just go, go, go. I mean, I had assistants and, housekeepers and, I had like 5 or 6 or 7 coaches all at once that were helping me keep my shit together because I had so much going on. And I was like, yeah, boss mode activated, right?
Yeah.
Like I am a lady boss and I am a force to be reckoned with. And in the time, it seemed like I was crushing it. I was killing it. It was everything I had ever wanted. And sometimes I even catch myself looking back on that time frame going, what happened? Like I was just crushing it back then. But when I really sit down and look at what's really important to me, none of that shit was actually making me happy. The
What?
programming of building this massive empire, I'm going to have a yacht and that's where I'm going to live kind of lifestyle with my helicopter and everything else. Like none of that was really, it was almost like I was just trying to like reach the next stat, the next stat, the next stat, the next stat, like goal, 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 hit the number, right? And it was just like I was just going to fight my way to get to that point. And I don't know what happened. One day I just kind of woke up and maybe it was, when I met my husband, I woke up and I said, there's no room for him in my life. I don't have any time left to nurture a relationship. So what's more important, Heather? Money or love? And I chose love. And, the fact is I could have had money and love. I would have probably needed to sort some things out, like logistically, to accomplish that. But again, my programming was you get love or you get money. What do you choose? And it's always that chocolate or vanilla choose.
Yeah.
Which do you want to have? But the fact is back then, I didn't know then what I know now about the fact that, you can have both. There's a swirl component, right?
Yeah.
You can have money, you can have love, you can have everything. But I'm not programmed that way. I wasn't programmed that way. I was programmed that if you're going to have family and love, you can't have an empire because one of them has to be your first love and the other one's going to suffer. And so, right? Such deep programming. I know your abundance brain right now is just firing off. It's like probably an explosion of fireworks going on right now because you're like, oh my God, this is ridiculous, right? But
both. Choose both. Both.
Exactly. But this was the programming, right? It was, you get to have one or the other. So that was my programming. And, and then I completely, went the other way, right? Of like, oh, I'm going to be a good little wifey and mama and, and I don't need to do all those things because I could just stay home and my job can be my being at home. But that doesn't light me up either. Right? So there's like all of these programmings from society. You got to get to the goal. You got to be an overachiever. You got to make all the money. You got to be super mom and super wife. And, all of these labels and titles and it's all just so gross when really, can I just be me?
Yeah.
I mean, the golden handcuffs are a thing.
Yes. I mean, it's not even so golden anymore. Like, I know people who are just like, I have a job and I have to do said job and it doesn't pay very well or it pays modestly or, whatever I get by. But I went to school for 4 years and I can't switch careers. I'm over 40. I'm over 50. I don't have enough money saved. you know, there's billions of possibilities that exist, but it is our mind that sequesters us to this tiny little box of programming. For you, Heather, it was love or an empire. You couldn't do both. And there's way more programming involved in that too, because it's, how you were programmed to build an empire, to sustain an empire, to grow an empire. Everything that people around you that had done what you perceived that you wanted, that they had done that too. They're telling you, you gotta be up at 5 a.m, gotta be a part of the 5 a.m club, but you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you can't watch TV because it's a waste of time, and every minute of every day has to count.
100%.
All of these things. So of course, like, if every minute of every day you have to be productive, how could you ever fit a relationship into that? How could you ever fit a child into that? Like, imagine having a child and still being in that programming and having that business. You would completely sabotage it unknowingly because you couldn't meet the same standards that you had before, the programming that you had set everything up to rise and fall upon. For me, it was the realization that I wasn't happy. I had all the things, a beautiful home and a nice car, and from the outside looking in, like, oh my God, Jody, such a beast, like, great businesswoman, all of these things, succeeding, she's got it all. And I would literally come home on Friday night and be like drooling, staring at a wall. And it was what rocked me to start asking myself better questions of, what do I truly want? What fills my cup? What's going to, build me up and empower me? Was a coach that I hired before I even hired her. And it was a fitness coach. It was a fitness coach, and she was starting to dabble into personal coaching, but I thought I was signing up for fitness coaching, and we did a discovery call. And I remember I was in my office. I know exactly where I was. I was like in the kitchen. I used to pace when I would, I would make phone calls or talk on the phone. I would walk back and forth, get the energy moving, be up, high energy, all of those things. So I was doing that. I was pacing back and forth, and she said, why do you want to do this? Like, why do you want to coach with me? And I was like, well, that's a good question. Well, with my food, I'm really good with food Sunday through Friday till noon. And then by Friday afternoon, I suck. I'll just eat anything. By Saturday, it's even worse. I starve myself till probably 2:00 because I have meeting after meeting after meeting, and I forget to eat breakfast, and then I don't have time for lunch. And by the time 2:00 comes, just give me something. I need food. I'm so hungry that I'll hit the first McDonald's or Tim Hortons or, fast food joint that I can find, and I will inhale it. And she said, okay, why do you think you do that? And it stumped me. I don't know. I'm just so tired. I'm just so exhausted. She said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, after by Friday night, like, the energy that I could muster that I have left is to, like, I only have enough energy to stare at a wall and drool. Like, I can't hang out with people on Friday night because I just can't. And usually Saturday afternoon, the same kind of thing happens, and I just need to be alone and recharge, and I just can't. I just have no energy to do it. And she said something to the effect of, how does it make you feel that that's your life? That you give and you give and you give and you give, and you have nothing left. You can't even sustain yourself. I stopped walking instantly and was like, all right, let's do this. I made me feel like crap. Like, that was the culmination of my life. That's what I had built. And, I kept saying to myself, I'm doing this for my family so my family could have more. But if you really looked at my schedule, I spent 0 time with them. They weren't a priority. So it was this program that I was running. I'm doing this for my family. Well, what do you mean for your family? Well, I want to retire my parents. Well, my parents have enough money to retire, and they wouldn't take the money from me anyway. So next, well, I want to have more money so I can support them. Okay, well, there's lots of ways to make money. And there's lots of resources out there, and there's lots of different ways you can get into business with them, whatever. So is it absolute that you have to do what you're doing. And that started cracking me open and to see all of the programming that I was living by, and that the absolutes that I was living by, the standards that and the programming that had been set for me, through society, through business, through leaders, through, and I'm not blaming it on all of them, because I bought and I paid for it and I owned it and I would speak to it and I would also say the same things, like repeat that message. So I need to own that I did that too. But it was the realization that there is another possibility that exists. And then looking at, why do I do the things that I do? Why do I wake up so early and feel like, how do I feel when I wake up? That was powerful too. I got to be at the office before 9 a.m. or before 8 a.m. or whatever, right? Why? Like, unless you have an appointment, why? I don't know. Right. And the more I asked those kinds of questions, why? I didn't have good answers. It's because somebody said. Who said? Somebody. Like, right. There was never a face. It's somebody.
They say.
They say. They say. Who's they? Who's they? Seriously. And I couldn't put a finger on it. And when I started to ask myself the question, is that the only way? I could start to see other people doing it slightly differently or completely differently. And I started to have room to start being creative and asking myself more questions.
I think that is, I wish that I would have been able to have that conversation back then, because ultimately in the end for me, it just broke, right? I broke one aspect, one of my businesses I completely dismantled because I needed to make the time to have the relationship. And I wish I would have been able to have that awareness, that perspective back then, because I would have just hired somebody to support me. And, I can see so many similarities in how you were running your day-to-day and how I was running my day-to-day. I mean, I was the exact same way. It was like I was up at, 4 o'clock in the morning, unless it was, my business day that kicked off with a slackline lesson at, 6 o'clock in the morning that took me an hour to drive to. So I had to be up at like 3:30 in the morning so I could get my head screwed on straight in order to drive down there and stand on a 2-inch wide trampoline and flop around like a crazy person. Right. So like, it was just go, go, go. And by the time that I would get to the end of the day, I was literally collapsing. I had no bandwidth or energy left to do anything else. Yeah. And, the food choices that I would make would just be whatever I needed to get in order to continue to live for the next day.
Yeah. You're in starvation mode. Just give me anything, bucket of chicken, totally. I'm on your arm.
Exactly. I mean, or I'd just skip it all together. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would realize 3 days later that I hadn't eaten anything. Wow. I'd have like, the chocolates in my office for 3 days. Every time I felt like I was going to pass out, I'd eat a piece of chocolate.
Oh my God. One of my assistants, one of her line items on her like job description was to make sure I ate, like to remind me to eat, because I would just be flying.
Yep. I had an assistant specifically to make sure I ate. Yeah. It was her job to book appointments, deal with my dry cleaning, and bring me food.
Yeah.
That was what I hired her for.
Yeah.
And the thing is it's just like, I could find so many times it was like, oh, I am just so busy. I'm just busy, busy, busy. My big badge of busyness, right? Yeah. Badge
of honor. Yeah.
That's right. The busy badge of honor. And it's funny because I don't even know that I really, like, it didn't sink in that I was wearing the busy badge of honor and the I'm so tired badge of honor until I was getting ready to move here. So this is well beyond the releasing of the golden handcuffs, and I've moved into this love world, and I'm leaving the empire behind, and I'm gonna just be this free loving, love everybody kind of being, right? So right before we moved, I had an appointment, and when my appointment arrived, she was wearing the busy badge and the I'm so tired badge. And I began counting how many times she talked about how busy she was and how tired she was. And I finally stopped counting after like the 40th time of her saying how busy and tired she is. She's just so busy. And I get she's got 2 young boys, and boys are a lot of energy. There's just a lot going on. And, between earthworms, dirt, and, quit poking your brother, she's probably pretty tired, right? And she has a career, on top of that. And she's got, a husband that sounds like is not very helpful or, whatever. But it's always tired and always busy. And when she first arrived, I never do this, but when she first arrived, I instantly was like, she needs a glass of wine. This woman needs wine. So I poured a glass of dry farm wines. Everybody who knows me knows I'm a huge advocate for the dry farm wines. So I pour her a glass of wine, and she literally drinks it like a glass of water down. I was like, whoa. And she's like, oh man, I needed that. I was like, I know. Are you okay? Like, do you want to talk about it? I'm just so busy. I'm just so tired, Heather. I'm just tired. I'm just tired. And I'm just so busy.
We end up programming ourselves.
Exactly. I could hear this program running, and I was like, oh my God, that was me. I used to be that.
Yeah.
I could see myself.
Oh, yeah. I used to say, I'm not feeling well.
Yeah.
And then I would actually get sick. I would just cause it all over. I'm not feeling well. But I noticed when I was really exhausted and I needed an excuse, we talked a couple of weeks ago about, setting boundaries and saying no, that you don't need a justification. No can be the complete sentence. But in that moment, I would always need a justification. So I'm not feeling good. And I would create sickness over and over and over again. I was sick all the time.
Yep.
Because of it. We're programming ourselves. And it's not that woman wasn't busy or wasn't tired,
right.
But how much more tired and busy, like feeling like the time is just, that's cars rushing by the way, if you didn't know. I'm bad at I am bad at animation. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes. But how much is caused by that? Like, we know there's noceum. Is it like what is it? What's the P word? The when you're taking a medication, it's a sugar pill. Placebo. Okay, so there's placebo and nocebo. Placebo is like the positive things, like you think it's going to do something, and nocebo is where somebody has implanted a program inside your head saying you're probably going to feel like crap and this is going to happen. You're more likely, when somebody says that, to feel those actual side effects. Well, the same is with constantly saying, I'm exhausted. That was also my thing. I'm exhausted. I'm busy. I'm so tired. You keep saying that over and over and over and over and over again. Your brain has no choice but to believe you and to exhibit that. So you can begin asking the question, like, am I exhausted? Like, scale of 1 to 10, maybe even go that depth with the question. Like, am I 10 out of 10 exhausted? Am I 9 out of 10 exhausted? 8, 7? What am I in terms of exhausted? And the moment that I stopped saying I was busy, I started using other language. I'm full. Instead of like, I had a busy weekend, I had a full weekend. Completely started shifting it. I had a full weekend. I felt better about that. I have a full schedule. And then I started to see where my limits were. Like, I don't want to be from appointment to appointment to appointment to appointment to appointment. Like, I don't want to do 10 appointments a day. That's just,
right.
I got my wisdom teeth taken out, like, when I was in my 20s at some point, 26, 27, somewhere in there. And I think that they hit a nerve. So when I talk for too long, eventually I find that my face droops. and I start to like slur my words. But I didn't notice this until I started to slow down and pay attention. Like, why am I like stumbling on my words? Because as I would get exhausted physically, my face would fall asleep. And now I don't think that there's any difference or that you can see, or I've never measured it. This is just, it was a realization that I had that I'm so out of touch with how I'm feeling that my face is drooping because I'm tired and I don't even notice. Like, come on, Jody, get it together. Take care of yourself. There's only one you. And if you aren't here, all of these things are not going to get done.
Totally. 100%. That's hilarious, by the way. I'll have to pay more attention because we definitely spend a lot of time together, and I'll be like, I think you might be getting ready to drool.
Droopy face Jody coming out.
That's right. I'll be like, you're getting a little loose on that side, if you know what I mean.
Just see me
That's funny.
Inebriated.
Inebriated. I think that, the moral of the story here with this topic, because we could totally beat a dead horse here for a long time on this, is take inventory of the things that you tell yourself, your self-programming. What are you saying in your mind? What are the thoughts that you are having? And, when you're having the thoughts of, I need to build an empire, you need to ask yourself why. You have to understand why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And is it because it's something that you truly want for yourself? Or is it because of something that somebody says, well, this is what you need to do in order to be successful?
Mm-hmm.
You need to do these things if you're going to be successful. If you want to be a boss, you need to get up at 4. And you need to never watch TV, and you need to read all the books, and you need to have 25 coaches, and you need to, come on, right? Don't drink alcohol. That could completely derail everything.
Everything. You'll
Stop
be so
spending
screwed.
time with your friends. Live your life for 2 years in a way that allows you to live your life for the rest of your life in another way. I mean, how many times have we heard that?
Yeah.
Right?
How many 2-year periods did you go through?
Totally. Right? Exactly. I had lived that life for 10 years and I still don't have the outcome. Right? Because it's not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't aligned with my actual values.
Mm-hmm.
That was somebody else's dream. That was somebody else's process. That was somebody else's programming. And it 100% flies in the face of my human design, which I didn't even know was a thing back then.
Yeah, it's a big one.
A huge one.
Mm-hmm.
I am not designed to generate that way. It's not part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that when I do less, I actually have more.
I am a generator, but I found when I push myself to that extent, that when I push myself through the frustration, I end up getting more frustrated and things take me 10 times longer than if I was to just take a breath and go give myself permission. I sent this to my niece, actually. She said, I'm having a really hard time, Auntie Jody, trying to do my homework all by myself. And I said, why? She said, well, I've got all of these things that I could be doing, like watching TV and watching TikTok and la, 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 whatever. Like, I'll just do it when you get here. Can you come soon? And I said, babe, give yourself an hour. Do whatever you want. Give yourself the permission to do whatever. If that's TikTok, you want to make some dances up, dance your pants off. Not your pants off. Dance your butt off. Like whatever it is. You want to watch that TV show, watch that TV show. Set a timer. that at 4:30, you're going to give yourself an hour and a half, whatever feels good to you. Go with whatever, it doesn't matter. 4:30, you are going to get to work. So you're going to turn off the TV when your alarm goes off and you're going to go to it. She did exactly that. And this is what I teach in my course too, because this was me. When I tried to frustrate and work through it, it took me 10 times longer. But when I allowed myself the space to do whatever it was that I wanted and then come back to it when I felt inspired or when I hit that, alarm or whatever, I would just bang through it. She started at 4:30. So she gave herself an hour and a half of time to do whatever she wanted. She called me at 5:15 and I was on my way to her house to babysit her. And she said, "Guess what, Auntie Jody? I'm done. I'm done. I need one more sentence and it's complete. I just need to finish one more sentence. So like, when will you be here? I don't need any help, but I just want you to be here because I want to hang out." She was done,
Amazing.
Yeah. I think a really big point of this conversation is you get to choose the things that you do in life, and the possibilities of how you do them are completely like there's billions, it's endless on how you do them. And I don't think what I was going to say earlier is I don't think the most successful people in our world set out to build an empire just to build an empire. I want to have an empire.
Right.
I don't think they did that. They wanted to bring something to market. Like, what's his name? Tesla. What is his name?
Musk. Elon Musk.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, Musk. He started his corporation because he was sitting and waiting for a job, sitting in a room full of people. And he was waiting and waiting and waiting and finally got tired of waiting and said, "Screw this, I'm going to start my own company." And he did.
Yep.
Whether he had the intention of building this, giant empire, perhaps, but that wasn't the point. The point was he was following his heart, where he felt led to go. His intuition was guiding him, something he was excited about, something that he desired to do, that he thought he could do better. I think most people get tied up with, I just want the money. But it's not the money that you're after or the empire you're after. It's the things, the perception of what will happen next, what comes next after that, the freedom, the joy, the yacht, the whatever. And a lot of that is programmed because you have the ability to feel joy and freedom and bliss and peace and ease right here in this moment. No one is stopping you from that. So choose to feel those things, and then you attract more of those things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's so great that you're talking about following your heart's desires, because there's something that our hearts desire that we are bringing to you. So Jody and I are hosting our first ever live event. And this event is going to be in Canada. And we are going to be posting details of what it is and how we're going to do it, and this amazing opportunity. There's a couple different ways that you can join us in the event. You can join us for the general sessions, or you can join us for some of the fun after-hour sessions that we're going to have. So we will definitely be posting stuff about that. So keep your eye on our social media. If you're not following us, it's at My Soulgate on Instagram, or at Jody Lynn Craven on Instagram. We'll drop the information also in the notes as the information becomes available. So keep your eyes peeled. This is going to be most likely in August. So clear your calendars, because it's going to be a really amazing opportunity. And I'm so excited about it.
I know. Your first time to Canada.
I know.
You'll get to meet all of these wonderful Canadians that you've worked with before. And, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And I've been feeling so called to do something in nature. And that's what we're doing. Is it's going to be an in nature event, a very unique venue that nobody has ever used. It's coming. We'll tell you all of the details. So there's going to be an opportunity for the general session admission. And then there's going to be an opportunity to be a part of a weekend long retreat. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be marvelous.
It is going to be marvelous.
Yes. Oh, and we're also planning like a 5-course farm to table dinner. You know, all the vegetables stocked from Craven Farms. So it's going to be delicious, nutritious, both to the soul and the body.
Yeah. Talk about a mind, body, soul experience. This will definitely be it. Yeah. One of a kind for sure.
One of a kind. Amazing. Well, I think that's it I think we ran out of time already.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Things.
Well, if you guys like the conversation, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, do all the things, bring all your friends. Definitely follow us on social media so that you can be the first one to know about the event when the tickets go on sale, because we are expecting it to sell out very quickly. So you definitely don't want to snooze on that one. So
yeah, limited.
love you. See you guys next week.
Bye.